Indonesia, a vast and diverse country of 200 million people that covers an area greater than the whole of Europe. Of all its 17,000 islands, Sulawesi is the most magical. Isolated by deep ocean trenches, it is home to more unique species than any place on Earth.
This is extreme caution time.
But Sulawesi is under threat.
When you're sitting in Europe in your armchair watching a natural history programme and thinking, I'd like to make a difference, there is a way you can make a real difference. You can come out and join a project like this one and actually help scientists, because without the volunteers this whole project wouldn't run.
Volunteers from around the world are working alongside leading scientists to help conserve the rainforests of Sulawesi, diving on the pristine coral reefs surrounding the paradise island of Hoga. And they live with the Bajau sea gypsies of Sampella village. In this programme, who's having a swinging time in the jungle? And what's with this fruit bat and bananas?
Oh, there we go. Get that down your neck, matey. How much banana can one small bat fit in his gob?
Having completed their jungle training and settled into the village of Labunda-Bundo, our group of 30 volunteer conservationists are finally getting to grips with the punishing routine of jungle fieldwork. Up at the lab, the Operation Wallacea staff eagerly await the arrival of the supply run.
Craft paper for you. Some more. Banana, some chocolate.
With a small army of volunteers to feed, these supply runs are a lifeline for the operation. The occasional chalky treat makes the daily slog of fieldwork a little bit more bearable. However, tasty snacks are the last thing on Sam Howard's mind. His lizard's done a bump.
He lost your sample. You got it?
Dr. Tim Coles, Operation Wallacea's director, has stopped by for a visit.
What we're trying to do is to get as much of the money that's invested in Operation Wallacea actually spent on the ground in local communities, because the way you get protection in an area like this is to demonstrate to the local people that they're going to make more money from protecting a natural asset than they are from destroying it. And one of the ways in which that can be done, of course, is from ecotourism, from people actually coming and looking at the wildlife, people like ourselves.
Dan Walsh is capturing a few magic moments to show the folks back home.
Filming Dan walking down to his house. You're going to film our favourite shop. Hello. We're gonna show this in England. We're on a discount instead of being charged more than everyone else. Right, I'm just gonna show you around where I'm gonna be living for the next few days. After you, if you'd like to enter into the Big Brother house. Bit of a pit actually, isn't it? Look up there, they've got a nice spacious room with a mosquito net.
Dan is the latest in a long line of colourful characters that the operation has attracted over the years.
Probably the most eccentric character we had was a guy who was very interested in flies. He used to follow the main survey teams around, dressed only in a tiny pair of tight red shorts. And the guy was sort of early 50s, and he walked through the villages dressed like that, which was pretty unusual anyway, and the local people were quite shocked. The other habit he had was he kept taking water samples, and he used normal drinking water bottles but never labelled them. And since the flies he collected really liked sewage and really dirty, filthy streams, he had some pretty vile collections of water bottles, and we kept telling him to label these things. And then one day he drank one of his own water bottles and he got quite sick, so we left him behind in the headman's house in this little village in the north part of Buton Island called Maligano. We came back, he wasn't there. He'd been arrested, and what had happened was he'd gone for a mandi, and when he'd finished his mandi, because he was an eccentric character, he walked out of the mandi, complete, stark naked, stopped to look at the pictures on the wall. The headman's wife came into the room, saw him there, screamed and ran out, went to fetch the police and the army, and they arrested him. And when we came back, Steve-O had to spend the next few hours trying to get him out of jail for exposing himself to the headman's wife in Maligano.
The operation's butterfly expert has happily never been arrested, not even for this extravagant jungle behaviour. When it comes to lepidopterology, no one swings a net quite like Dr. Wilmot.
This is my first time I've come out here. It's been a really good experience. Every single day you go out, you'll see something different, and something huge and spectacular will come across, and you think, well, how can I not have seen that before? I've been coming here for weeks. Butterflies are probably one of the best known groups of insects in terms of what the species are. They obviously have great sort of popular appeal, unlike most of the insects, which have pretty bad press. So people are sort of willing to look out for them, try and note where they see them. So they're a good sort of insect group to study. This is probably a sort of display posture that would be attempt to sort of scare off a bird or something that had caught it, with sort of the legs out and the claspers at the tip of the abdomen open. There it goes. And various different types of bait you can use. This is rotting banana, sugarcane.
Even the body beautifuls of the insect world are partial to a bit of junk food. The local butterflies go for this sugary brown sludge in a big way.
It's actually quite old, and goes in the trap. The butterflies will fly in, land on the board, and then walk in to feed on the bait. Most people's first impressions when they get into the forest is that how little they really see. Butterflies are quite a visual group, pretty obvious, and along roads and areas, open areas, you will see quite a few, but in the forest I can walk for hundreds of meters and see like hardly a single butterfly. The species was sort of perching high on this leaf above the stream. They come out either 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They're particularly punctual. You can virtually set your watch by them. In fact, one time I saved from missing the bus by noticing them coming out much earlier than my watch was suggesting. A very interesting group of butterflies. There we go.
While the king of the butterfly net goes off in search of his insect supermodels, there are many other research projects going on in the jungle around him. This is Operation Wallacea's resident batwoman, Dr. Tigger Kingston.
Hello, ready for the dog, chummy?
Sulawesi is a bat lover's paradise. Home to 62 different varieties, bats make up approximately half of all the island's mammal population.
That's nice, isn't it? Oh, there we go. Get that down your neck, matey. How much banana can one small bat fit in his gob? These are very placid fruit bats. Fruit bats come in all temperaments, and some are a little more bitey and unpleasant than others, but these ones are real sweethearts.
I went on an undergraduate expedition about 10 years ago to Colombia, and I was meant to be helping out with a small mammal project, but our small mammal traps got stuck in customs, and that was the last we saw of them, unless you're prepared to pay some dodgy bribe. So that was the end of the small mammal programme, but we had birders working because it was a biodiversity study, and they had mist nets with them. So we borrowed their mist nets at night to work with bats, and that was the beginning of it for me. And once I'm out, I never looked back, never looked a small mammal in its eyes again, and stuck with bats.
These are the quite big bats you see flying around the village, and we think this one's quite a young one. It's about half the weight of the ones we normally get.
Last year, Tigger caught 33 species of bat, 4 of which were unique to Sulawesi.
The t-shirt, not on the t-shirt. What are you like, Batty? Okay, give me more banana and I might leave, maybe. So, do bats make good pets? Not generally. Unless you feed them banana.
After chomping his way through an entire banana, it's time for Chumley the fruit bat to return to his mates. Close by, a team of volunteers are setting up a bat net across the river, whilst keeping an eye out for the resident leeches, who love to dine out in style on juicy arms and legs. On tonight's menu is 21-year-old Jade Spence.
I'm doing a zoology degree and I'm just interested in anything animal. I absolutely love it here actually. I don't want to go tomorrow. I haven't studied anything, sort of no big mammals at Southampton, which is where I'm at university. So it's nice to come out here, and especially with the bat project because it's so hands-on. I've learnt all the species names. I've learned which ones are insectivores, which are fruit bats. Yeah, it's been a big learning experience. Yeah, bats has been good.
Bye, Fatso. Go away.
In there.
Let's
Bundo, take it over. Okay, we're actually going to start walking back towards you to pick up those ones, to look at the ones in the traps, okay? Over.
Okay, we'll meet you at the grid traps then. Over.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Meet you there. Over.
Over and out, Tigger. Bye.
Okay, right, okay, thank God for that, right. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to wander back towards the traps because there is a bat at least in one of the traps. So you can see how the traps work with the bat in.
What really excites me is the fact that their perception of the world is entirely different. They're operating through echolocation, through how they integrate all this information acoustically, and on top of that, how they fly. They're operating in 3 dimensions and in flight. So, to me, they're kind of a bit like these sort of fluffy space aliens in this mad world of their own. But yes, it's our world, and so that intrigues me. It's just very exciting how you can get a bat that can do all this echolocation, like a little magic chip in its head, and a head the size of a lentil, you know, and yet it can operate perfectly well. Just inside this little bit of forest, we've probably got at least 12 species that forage inside the forest. So I'm interested to know how they partition the resources, how they can coexist, how you can get such fantastic diversity in such a small area. Quite cute. But they only weigh about 5.5, 6 grams, but they're convinced they weigh, you know, at least the same as you and can take your arm off. Sweet, isn't she? She's a little mad. Hey, calm down. The thing is, you have to enjoy your study animal, because there's a lot of components of fieldwork that are hard and boring and irritating and uncomfortable. So at the end of the day, you've got to have sort of magic moments where you see your beast and enjoy it. And then there's the sort of the pleasure of finding out things about it and the pleasure of the science behind it as well. These guys are mad. If they can't bite you, they'll bite themselves. Calm down. Have you had enough? Don't give me a bag. Put you away. I think we better had, haven't we? A lot of bats have different personalities. It's quite amusing. You can tell the species by their personalities. These ones are always psycho. Okay, bye-bye. Look, there's one bat that's really placid.
I heard that intake of breath. I think it's built a nest actually.
And then we have volunteers. We like to get plenty of those because they're so silly. They just sit there and you can hold them, and any volunteer that can just hold that, make that shape in their hands can hold these bats, and they won't bite and they won't struggle. Whereas these guys, these are your advanced volunteer bats only. You don't give those to beginners. Right, that's her.
In part 2,
Try and calm it down again now.
the village hosts an unwelcome guest. And is it true that Tigger can climb trees?
I think I'm stuck now.
Find out after the break. It's the middle of the night and all is not well in the operation's adopted village of Bundo Bundo. Something huge and deadly is stalking the neighbourhood.
It was actually just behind our hut that they found it, and we woke up at 3 in the morning hearing this really high-pitched squeal, and the people in our hut were chattering really excitedly, and the two of us were really annoyed because we had to be up in an hour. We were just annoyed they were still up and didn't really think much into it. We were still half asleep. The next day we came back and we heard all this excitement about how they'd found this like 7-metre reticulated python just like literally 10 metres behind our hut strangling a pig, and it'd been the pig that we'd heard, and the people in our hut got up and rushed out and chopped his head off.
And was it killed this morning?
Yeah.
And it was just huge. It was absolutely huge. You couldn't believe the size of it. And it's quite scary, and to think that that was so close, you kind of forget where you are, I think.
The local villagers can make £3.50 a metre for quality snakeskin like this. That's good money in a country where the average daily wage is just £1. Within a few weeks, Bundo Bundo's uninvited guest could be turned into a snakeskin jacket, selling for £2,500. The threat of huge snakes makes a big impression on some of the volunteers.
It's a full sense of security though, because it does, you've got a little, road and the houses are neatly aligned and you can kind of forget where you are, but things like that do roam into the village, and I guess something like that is a threat, especially to the small kids, so you've got to be aware of that all the time.
Village kids learn to handle a parang, the Indonesian machete, at an early age. That's because in this part of the world, pythons have been known to strangle and devour children like these, so danger is never far away. Adult reticulated pythons grow to more than 7 metres in length. The longest snake ever recorded, which grew as wide as a tennis court, was shot on Sulawesi in 1912.
Oh, wow.
It seems that most people have an innate fear or phobia of snakes, and if they don't, they have an innate fascination with them.
For some reason I just didn't think they had teeth.
From a human evolution perspective, it kind of makes sense. Some snakes are dangerous, and it's better to have an instinctive fear of all snakes rather than try to distinguish between individual species and run the risk of making a mistake. In Australia, where I come from, of course, there are lots of venomous snakes, and so the risk of being bitten, I suppose, is potentially quite a tangible one. People do indeed get bitten by snakes. On the flip side of that, of course, a lot more people get killed in car accidents, so it's not necessarily a rational fear.
You can see that he's got no fangs, just lots of little razor-sharp teeth.
Most snakes are indeed very harmless, and even those snakes that are venomous, they're extremely shy, and they'll tend to slide away as fast as they can and avoid confrontation with people. People who get bitten by snakes are generally those who are trying to kill them or who are doing something really stupid like handling them.
Let's get the guy coming down again now. It's not going to be easy.
Around here, the vast majority of species of snake are completely harmless. Of the 26 species that we've detected on Bhutan, only 2 of them are venomous to humans, and only one of those is highly deadly, which is the spitting cobra, and we've only seen one of those on the island, and indeed the local community don't believe that they occur there.
They bloody bite, these things, but they're not venomous.
The vast majority of snakes that they will go out of their way to kill are completely harmless, and in fact are probably doing good in their villages. They're eating rats and things like that. 1, 2, 3. So yes, they're just a misunderstood group of animals, but then again there are lots of other animals which are misunderstood as well for different reasons.
Oh yeah.
This caterpillar is happy to be misunderstood. Looking snake-like is a definite advantage, especially if you can avoid becoming lunch for a hungry bird. Back at the lab, resident artist Robin Springett is putting the finishing touches to his latest masterpiece.
I'm currently working on a picture of a couscous for the education project here at Labunda. It's a marsupial. They're solitary, they live in treetops. Quite like a little teddy bear with a long tail, big claws. Pretty cute. Just finished an identification sheet of butterflies. The idea is to help people start to recognise forest species and take an interest in the forest.
Robin's brushstrokes have proved a real hit with the local villagers.
It's been quite funny actually. We've been having people coming in and sort of doing little sketches for themselves, and I keep finding bits of paper with birds drawn on them. They're all very impressed, and they want birds painting on their cars and things.
This cuddly couscous will now join a host of other animals in a huge poster, which will be pinned up in every school in Sulawesi.
Next, I think I've got a Draco lined up, a flying lizard.
Tigger and the team are about to embark on an unusual experiment.
We're going to just shave the fur on the back between the shoulder blades and make enough room to attach a tiny radio transmitter. This is it. This is about 0.5 of a gram. Has a range of a few hundred metres, just so we can track where this bat actually roosts.
Having released the tagged bat back into the wild, Tigger and the team set off to find its home.
When Andy was in checking its civets last night, he checked for our bat as well, and he was picking it up foraging. And it was foraging within gobbing distance, basically, of where we'd originally caught it. So that was quite encouraging, because it suggests that the individual's coming back to the same area. Steve's got the tracking gear, so what we're going to do is probably send Steve on a few hundred metres ahead of us, and then everyone will sort of follow on.
Tracking the bat with what looks like a homemade TV aerial is not at all straightforward.
This is really frustrating.
At long last, Steve gets a signal.
Tigger? See the strangler pig?
Yeah.
It's there. It's in that direction.
But with dozens of trees to choose from, the hard work has only just begun.
Are you still getting it down there, Steve?
Yeah, I think this is.
Little beggar. Where is it? Yeah. I'm fairly sure it's in this clump of stuff. It's not in that big tree behind us or anything. These bats have a really distinctive smell, so if they are, I mean, they're not going to be able to get in down here, but if they're getting in further up and it's hollow, they might be able to get a whiff on them. So. Got to be in here somewhere.
Have you smelled it?
No, I don't think it's in there. At least I can't smell them anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't realise bat tracking involves so much sniffing and climbing.
You guys are going to make me laugh. I'll never get up.
Tigger's favourite leisure activity is kickboxing. Her latest fight in Thailand ended with victory in round 1. But this bat is proving a much tougher nut to crack.
I think I'm stuck now. Can't see it. Structural integrity is compromised. Chop whole tree there and see if the bat furs out. Plan B.
Hours of trudging around the jungle and still no bat. It's time to put on a brave face.
This is our Operation Wallacea sign. Right, all set. Even if we haven't actually worked out exactly which tree it's in or what it's roosting in, that's still important information. We'll know that for that period of time it's faithful to this site. If we have the tracking gear out where it forages at night, we'll know, okay, is it foraging in the same area every night? So that's really valuable information that helps us build up a profile of the ecology of these bats. And you know, maybe in the long term we eventually will find its roost properly and round up some of its friends, but even if we don't, we've still got some really exciting data, so we're pretty pleased. But find that bat, Steve!
No chance of finding the bat after dark, but like much of the fieldwork, there's always tomorrow. And after nightfall, who knows what wildlife will be visiting the village. Join the conservationists of Operation Wallacea next time as they continue their mission of saving paradise.
Ha 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 ha!